This video is sponsored by Asus. This here is the ROG Zephyrus G14.
No more MacBook, child MacBook. Now we're gonna be using a G14 for the next 6 months.
So yeah, I mean, up to now I've traveled quite a lot with the G14. I make these type of videos to properly review tech. My goal is to always live with it as much as possible so I can give you all feedback. This has been keeping up with my travel schedule, my home desk setup, gaming, work, and for me, this might just be one of the only Windows laptops that can actually give the MacBook Pro a run for its money.
Stop the cap.
There's actually a few other laptops that compare to this, but this just hits different. Let me explain. From what I've been able to gather, and not only gather but experience with this laptop, there are three main reasons as to why I think this is a great replacement. Build quality, display, and hardware capabilities. And when I say hardware capabilities, I'm talking about having a dedicated GPU with a powerful CPU that can really mimic the same exact workflows I run within my MacBook Pro. Look, the G14 is also a laptop with a 14-inch OLED display with a 3K resolution, a 16:10 aspect ratio, delivering 120Hz with a rapid 0.2 millisecond response time and 100% DCI-P3 color gamut coverage. But it's not totally similar to the MacBook. For starters, there are different amount of pixels on screen, and then even though the contrast ratios are similar at 1,000,000:1, OLED's true black and local dimming via mini LED is different on paper. Because in practice, the difference is almost negligible. It's really hard to tell in my opinion, but mini LED does allow for your device to hit much brighter peak nits, especially in HDR, and you see it within this test that the MacBook has a lighter advantage compared to the G14, but not by much. And then comes the build quality. This along the XPS, the Razer Blade, the ProArt is probably one of the sturdiest Windows laptops I've tried. The lid and the base are made out of a CNC machined aluminum alloy, although I've found the bottom lid to be the only part that is a bit rattly. It doesn't feel like one solid piece of aluminum, but I do love the fact that even though we have a dedicated GPU in here, the G14 is very compact. It's a very compact laptop, and it's lighter than my MacBook. It's definitely the laptop for tight spaces, like a plain tray, that's for sure.
Now we're gonna be using a G14 for the next 6 months, and I'm gonna document the whole thing.
I want to start a bit from the top just so I can paint you guys the full picture. My journey started with a different laptop, a G14 with a 4070. I also slightly used a G14 with a 4060 about 2 years ago, so I knew what I was getting into. Before I knew it though, I was already taking this on my first trip, which is why I decided to download Apple TV for the first time on a Windows laptop and download a few Severance episodes to consume on the plane. This is the perfect size laptop for a plane. And I was riding a tiny little aircraft with like barely any room. It was like quite rough. If I remember correctly, this was the first time I decided to keep track of battery life. I had some headphones on, Severance ready to go, and that laptop within an hour and 10 minutes of video playback dropped from like 90% to 68%. So that was my first battery life experience with it. I won't lie though, when I got to my hotel, I did quite a bit of work with it. I had installed myself onto that hotel room table just to have a full setup. I remember I had forgotten to install some of my tools that allow me to sort 422 footage with an Explorer. Battery was still running strong towards the end of its charge, and then I made the stupidest mistake.
You gotta be kidding me. Check this out, boys. It's connected, right?
Not charging. That's just not doing something, right? I think I complained and searched the web for a solid 20 minutes. Scratch everything I said. I am such an idiot. Sometimes I wonder how I review tech.
I was using this port, which obviously it's not this one.
This is the 40-watt PD port. Now, my laptop is charging. Anyways, apparently we're getting 83 watts charging right here. Thank God it worked, because honestly, USB-C charging is great while traveling. Look, days went by, but I was still getting used to grabbing this as my daily laptop. Today is Tuesday, February 24th, I think. It's currently 6 a.m. My computer's been updating for the past like 10 minutes, and it's at 15%. I'm not even joking. And it's funny because the first thing I was gonna do was to grab a MacBook to keep scripting. Like, that's my reflex. Grab a MacBook.
Obviously, that doesn't make sense. This is my new daily. I have to get used to
grabbing this all the time and working with it. Which I've been doing, don't get me wrong. It's just that it's like you gotta reprogram yourself, because I've been using MacBooks for so long. Even though I've switched to like Windows laptops for like, you know, a few weeks, a month, tops a month and a half to review certain laptops. But yeah, this is my new baby. I'm just gonna work, because this thing's taking forever. 27%. Little by little, I was using it more and more for everything. By the way, it runs hella well on my desk setup at home. I can easily replicate the same workflow I have at the office with my custom build, editing on Photoshop and Lightroom, using an SD card adapter to import footage. My dock supports 90 watts charge, so I'm good to work on it with a single USB-C cable. And on top of that, my entire setup, including my 4K OLED monitor, keyboard, mouse, and speakers, they connect to the laptop with one single cable. So today is March 6th. Yesterday, the laptop was flickering like hell. I couldn't even turn it on. Like, I would turn it on and then it would just flicker. It wouldn't stop. So I was like, okay, this is it. This is the end of this one. I turned it on this morning and everything seems to be working fine. Yeah, I don't know what to say. What I'm doing right now is that I am installing new drivers again, because NVIDIA keeps popping new drivers every so often right now. I think this was about the time my custom PC was also being finicky with NVIDIA drivers. I remember NVIDIA putting out some weird updates where it would like make the GPUs kind of go crazy. So NVIDIA at this point is just broken. It took 2 hours for this guy to get his PC back up and running. Look, I get to the studio this morning and my PC was basically dead. Black screens everywhere. A lot of people were experiencing the same issues. As the days went by though, I kept using it. I started integrating my phone into it a bit more until March 18th, where I got my 50 series G14. Now, I finally got the laptop I've been supposed to be using for the past like month. And it includes a 5080, and let me go get it. Thank you. Here you go. This was around the same time I was building that tiny little custom PC. It took me about a couple of days to unbox my G14 and set it up, so in between I was still using my 4070 G14. Eventually I got around it. I took the time to install every single app that I pretty much either use on my MacBook or my custom PC. That includes the OESL. Sometimes when I have time, I like trying to code and maybe just have fun with new technologies to make sure I don't forget where I came from. So I guess having an environment to code with is something I find important, and it's something I have within my MacBooks. So yeah, this more or less was really what the first few weeks with it looked like. At this point, I had a pretty good sense of what I was getting into. I knew what I liked and didn't like about it, like the speakers, for example. This sounds like a MacBook. If not at least insanely close to it, it's really hard to tell the difference in my opinion. The keyboard. I think this is one of the best keyboards out there. Lots of people seem very content with it. It still feels a bit thin and rattly compared to the MacBook, but the clickiness and the key travel is just very underrated. I think for a gaming laptop, the keys are sure quieter than most of them. The trackpad is also very accurate, and I like the feel of it. I will say though, I'll always miss the haptic feedback the trackpad from my MacBook delivers, and aside from the size and weight, the speakers being super nice and the hardware being solid, I found over time how insanely good the display looks. Sharpness is great, it has good enough colors, no ghosting, IPS glow and backlight bleed is decent. However, the screen coating is too reflective as a whole. But on top of all this, I love the minimal bloatware it comes with. I also realized it's got decent mics and webcam. Fans don't seem to go too crazy randomly. Anyways, the Zephyrus G14 is a solid laptop, which is why I took this with me to Italy as well. And it made me realize all the things I didn't like about it. I'm literally 2 days away from leaving to Milan.
I'm from outside, and this is where you walk in.
I'm currently going going through some documents because we're doing renovations, right, at the house. My computer, the computer is at 80%, and I haven't done that much. Just open PDF emails and just like going back and forth with ChatGPT and things like that. So I'm at 80%. I shedded like 9% in the span of like nothing, and I'm in power mode balance. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna put it in power efficiency, because I'm gonna be actually watching movies on the plane with it, and I'll report back on battery life. Okay, it's 6:51 p.m. Montreal time, and we're at 80%. Every time I'm at an airport, I always work to kill some time, and currently I'm redoing the interior of my house. I'm planning a massive makeover episode on the channel and lots of subsequent episodes to follow, so I definitely needed to have my laptop with me to keep up with some emails and contracts as they came in. I also always use ChatGPT to go over some of those. I also had my laptop connected to my Nothing phone, just because the airport Wi-Fi is kind of clunky. Look, I'm just trying to paint you a picture, okay? Because I did quite a bit for the hour and a half we had to wait before embarking on the plane. Right before though, hopping on the plane, I had about 79% left. That was at around 6:52 p.m. Eastern time. Mid-flight is when I started using my laptop again. I had connected my earbuds and watched Severance for about 50 minutes. And then I realized that 15% had gone by within that video playback. And note that my power mode was set to best power efficiency. So battery life is definitely one of those things I'm not a fan of when it comes to Windows laptops, but I thought I had found a way to get better battery life. I remember a few weeks ago, I was reading about Armory Crate depleting battery quicker on the G14, and a lot of people have been suggesting to use a G Helper. So I think I'm gonna try that out. I'm gonna give that a try, because with my current workflow, which is not much from what I was doing in the airport or whatever, battery life has not been the best. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna try that out. I'll install it and then I guess uninstall Armory Crate. Anyways, I'll give you guys some feedback on that. I remember that day walking around the city calculating battery life in my head, like going from 90% to about 79% in an hour and a half with a very light workflow at the airport, and then going from 79% to about 60% after having the laptop in sleep mode and consuming content for about 50 minutes. That's 30% in 2 hours and 10 minutes, which made me realize battery life wasn't the best. Eventually, when we landed in Milan, I got the keys to my hotel room, kept checking on battery life while I spent some time sorting footage for the Nothing phone video, and then wishing I had a full SD card slot in here. I know it's a gaming laptop, I know, but it'd be nice. Although sorting footage from an SSD connected via USB-C is lightning fast. And then I looked at the time, where I realized my time never changed to GMT, which threw me off, and I had a completely lost track of battery life. This is 5 p.m., but oh yeah, Montreal time? Yeah, Montreal time. I just kind of need to find a way to make battery life a bit better. G Helper is gonna be the way. I believe. Don't quote me. Honestly, we'll see. We will see. I kind of just went back to getting some work done for the rest of the night. I do remember charging the laptop, editing on DaVinci, which by the way, it does it so freaking well. I'd even argue it's smoother and nicer than on my M4 Pro MacBook Pro. Although when editing, you'll definitely feel heat build up towards the lower left edge of the laptop. But even after editing for about 20 minutes, I easily recovered about 25% in charge, and I easily transferred a bunch of assets from my phone into the laptop with local send. So I lock it and I can just click on the little hotspot button right there, and then I can just go and connect to my Nothing phone somewhere here. So let me show you. If you want to send media, click on media, and then you can click on all the stuff you kind of want to send, right? Let me just do all this stuff. Right, so I've got like 62 assets I want to send to the computer. So I click on confirm, and then I click on the device I want to send it to. And then you see how it's just prompting me to accept these files. So there you go, super quick. Like, it's really quick. It'll take less than a minute for sure. So that's basically been my workflow for the past, like, not 3 months, because I just discovered this app thanks to a few people on TikTok, which is super nice. But yeah, this is awesome. It's been the workflow for the past like 2-3 weeks, I want to say, and it works really well. I actually stayed late last night just watching Severance. Battery status is at 70%. It's not bad because I was watching quite a lot. If you guys haven't watched Severance by now, it's actually a really good show. I really enjoy it. It's kind of addicting towards the end. You just keep watching and watching and watching. Anyways, I'm going to be bringing the laptop today to all the stuff we have to do. I usually don't bring a laptop, but the times I don't, I kind of regret it. Like last week we were shooting a car and then I wish we had the laptop on site because I could just review footage and put it on a timeline. I'm gonna bring it with me because it's a good idea, especially since it's so freaking small. Like look at this. It just feels so small. For the amount of power this has, this is really small. Look, that day I was on my way to design week with the same battery charge I was consuming while watching Severance at night, and I know this isn't ideal for a laptop, but luckily the laptop didn't seem to be trapping any heat at all. Look, design week, okay? If you want a laptop that can output a battery life to keep up with a business workflow, that's exactly what you were going to find here. Design week for Asus meant showcasing the fusion of materials innovation, craftsmanship, and artificial intelligence of Asus' latest technological advancements. There was this really cool interactive installation in the middle, kind of like this giant moving sculpture. As you walk through it, these big panels will like open up like wings that were panels crafted from Asus' proprietary aluminum material, which is not at all the same material the G14 embodies. So unlike my G14, okay, the laptop I'm currently rocking, this here, what I'm about to show you guys, is a very different material that my G14 doesn't have. This is called aluminum. Okay, so Asus decided to put this whole thing together. They fabricated something really cool for Design Week here in Milan that showcases their materials on their latest ZenBook, right? The one that just released, which is really cool because I'm looking at it right now and it's just like, this is a really cool material. And it looks really good, which is what they wanted, right? Not only functionality-wise, but they also wanted to make it look really sick. And that's what I'm going to show you guys right now. You see, aluminum is a blend of ceramic and aluminum. And if you've watched my ZenBook video, you very much know what I'm talking about. But the coolest part is what Asus is actually planning to do with these ZenBook Signature Edition laptops. These are laptops that looked and felt unreal. I've been shopping for ceramic lately for the house right now, and no joke, this thing actually felt like real ceramic in my hands. They had a few different finishes like the obsidian black, reflecting Iceland's volcanic landscapes, Pamukkale white, inspired by Turkey's cascading terraces, Terramaka, evoking the deserts of Jordan, and luminous blue, capturing the bioluminescent shores of the Maldives. All they want is to literally have a laptop that combines the lightness of aluminum with the durability of ceramic, and on top of that, aluminum is fully recyclable. Aside from that, there were also some new color additions to the VivoBook, aluminum with sandblasted finish. There was other ProArt and ROG devices, all to promote functionality and a sense of responsibility towards the environment. So that's why I was there to make some social content and showcase their new material, film my Nothing Phone review. There was lots of content I grabbed that entire day that I needed to sort later on, and also do some work for the house. There are just some things you can do on a phone, like for example, disabling all the security preferences on a PDF, so I couldn't do that on the phone. So I'm gonna do that on the laptop because I need to send some documents for our renovation work, and it has to be sent today, so yeah. I wanted to get that done, but then I realized that somehow Adobe Acrobat wasn't installed. So you know what? Because we wanted to go to dinner, I decided to leave my Asus laptop installing Acrobat. At around 7:10 p.m. I kept my laptop in power efficiency mode, and with 59%, I decided to sort some footage and let it import as we went to dinner. However, before leaving, I finally decided to pull the trigger and install G-Helper. I wanted the tool to give me full control of my G14 in terms of power efficiency, which is exactly what it does when you install it. Okay, I just installed G-Helper. This should, in theory, according to a lot of you guys, save a lot of battery life. I do need to uninstall Armory Crate, sorry. So I'm gonna do that, and I will report back to you because I do find that my battery has been depleting quite fast. and I'm not a fan of that. I came back to a laptop with 38% left after letting it do its thing, and finished working on some of the contracts I had to sign and square away for the rentals. My last day of travels, I was going to Como. I worked a bit on the bus. Goddamn, do I regret that. Horrible idea. Working in a moving vehicle definitely gets me car sick, but I wanted to do some research on people's opinion regarding the Nothing phone. I was taking some notes, and about 45 minutes into it, I just completely stopped. Oh my god, I kinda got car sick. I was on the computer on my way here. Look, if you haven't watched that review, go watch it. You'll get the full Italy experience with this phone. The next day, that was the day we were flying out. I believe that was my first real battery life test with G Helper. I wanted to spend some time with this laptop sorting clips, working on my schedule, answering emails before taking off, and watching some videos. By the way, my bracelet often hits the chassis of this laptop, but there's absolutely no scratches whatsoever. Look, this for me, this is a laptop that can literally do it all. I can sort footage, import my Lightroom photos, edit on DaVinci, which is an experience that is so smooth, I'd say better than the MacBook, simply because I have a dedicated GPU in here. I think I started working at around 3:20 p.m. if I recall. Editing on a DaVinci timeline for about 38 minutes definitely can take a toll on battery life, but nothing too crazy because I am doing quite a lot. And then I started editing a lot of assets using Lightroom Classic, an app that runs smooth like butter on this laptop. By 4:06 p.m., I was at 25%. That's about 45 minutes of creating content, and a drop from 64% to 25%. I guess you can say that you can expect to get about an hour and 45 minutes of this type of workflow. Now, I wanted to kill that off with some severance, but sadly, my Apple TV app bugged hard. All the episodes I had downloaded all of a sudden didn't play past the first minute. Our time in Milan is over, baby. We are going home. Man, I had so much fun in Milan. Honestly, being in Milan kind of reminds me why Asus design hits different sometimes. I feel like they're one of the few brands that actually tries to push laptop design forward, not just making things thinner or shinier, but actually trying new materials, new ways of thinking about how we use our laptops. Like, they'll take a risk on something like ceruleum, for example, and see how that evolves, or even that crazy anime vision lid on the G14. You can tell they're not just experimenting for the sake of it, they actually want it to make sense when you're using it. Seeing it all in Milan up close was a sick experience, and I'm really grateful I was there to experience it. Oh my god, I came back from Milan a few days ago and I'm still sort of jet lagged. Well, yeah, it always hits me hard. But I want to talk about a few things regarding the laptop, and we're going to start with upgradability. Upgradability. I feel like I mentioned this on most laptops I review. This is a really easy laptop to open though, that I will say. However, aside from the M.2 slot and the Wi-Fi card, there is nothing else you can upgrade here. And if you do swap the Wi-Fi card, I heard you can lose access to Asus BIOS Cloud Recovery feature. I do wish as well that there wasn't only a mini SD card slot. I think totally eliminating it and replacing it with a full SD card slot would be better. The USB-C port to charge also doesn't support battery bypass, which is why carrying the 240 watt charger, which is bulky, is sort of a must. The laptop lid could also be a bit more rigid. There's some noticeable screen wobble, a bit less rigid than the MacBook, and there's quite a bit of flex going on. Not that I'm worried, but the pressure can make the screen press down onto the keyboard. I think this is about it for now. I've reviewed gaming laptops in the past where disabling the DGPU caused certain apps to crash or misbehave, but it hasn't been something I've ran into up to now. I will report though in my 6-month review if I ever do run into this. But this being a 5080 is exciting for me, more or less because it really handles my workflow well. Like, battery life aside, this thing goes through DaVinci without hiccups. Compared to the 4060 I had last year with OpenCL and Geekbench 6, you'll see quite the difference. The same thing goes with my 4070 model, although not that big of a gap. Now, with video editing aside, how good is this thing for gaming? I've played a bit of Starfield, some Alan Wake 2, and a bit of Cyberpunk. I ran these games using G-Helper, so I set the laptop to ultimate mode, which required a restart. But what I wanted to do here is take the time to show you what you can expect from it unplugged. I pretty much maxed out its performance in terms of what Windows can deliver, and at 9:06 AM I started playing games. I also set my refresh rate to 120 Hz, by the way. The first game I played, Starfield, with graphic presets set to high, no frame generation, but DLSS set to quality. With the laptop unplugged, you can expect this type of game to deliver an okay experience. It'll all depend on how much work the GPU needs to do to render certain scenes, but expect an average FPS in the mid-30s. So if you're on the go, I guess that's what you can expect from a game like this. I did game for a bit longer to get the temperatures going. I wanted to show you how the keyboard laptop doesn't get all that hot while gaming. The lower corners of the laptop do, which I guess that's because of the battery. And like I said, the crazier the scenes, the less the FPS this will output. I even tried to change the settings after playing for a while, and you'll barely notice any change. And no, I wasn't thermal throttling this laptop. And then I want to say 45 minutes into gaming, lower corners saw temperatures of around 38 to 40 degrees. The top lid was around 46 degrees, and towards the WASD keys you'll get about 30 compared to 45-ish towards the right of the keyboard. All of this with a GPU temperature of about 70 degrees on average. So you can get about an hour of gameplay without your laptop being plugged in on a game like so. It's funny because as soon as you plug this in, the frames just literally jump. The whole gaming experience just changes. With high settings and DLSS set to quality, expect between 80 to 100 frames per second while gaming. And a game like Starfield just feels incredible and smooth to play on this OLED panel. Then I played Cyberpunk for a bit just to show you what to expect. I had some default settings here with DLSS set to super resolution and ray tracing set to low, no frame generation, and some high to ultra settings. Honestly, you can get a pretty darn comfortable gaming experience with average frames per second floating between 60 to 70. Also, here's what fan noise was like after playing for an hour and 30 minutes. Then came Alan Wake 2, a game I hate playing. I want to say I had some medium to high settings with ray tracing off. This game does look incredible on OLED. You can expect an average of 40 to 50 frames per second. This is a game though that definitely likes to use the GPU, and I say this because depending on the scenes it renders, you'll definitely average different frames per second. I don't like playing scary games. Alan Wake 2 is pretty freaking crazy if you ask me. The only reason I play it is because I'm trying to show you guys the performance, because I know it's a pretty demanding game. That's about it. I'm not enjoying it. Like, I think the max that we saw in temps playing Alan Wake was 93.9 degrees. So we went up in CPU, and in GPU 87.8, which has stayed the same. I did realize that the chassis towards the top got pretty hot at 52 degrees. I just couldn't grab that shot on camera. That's about it. I think that's about it. Now that some of my friends have custom PCs, they keep asking me to play video games with them, so I'm gonna bring this home to play video games on that monitor, and then I'll report in 6 months or in 3 more months, because then it'll be like a complete 6-month review. That makes sense to you guys. If there's anything, like if you guys have any questions, please do let me know in the comment section. Like, I'm gonna come back to this laptop in 3 more months, and then we can properly assess it. If you guys want me to try anything in particular, I can try that. Just let me know, because I'll make it happen. Other than that, I guess this is a 3-month update on my Switch. Honestly, it's been pretty good. It's been very, very good. I just wish this delivered more battery life, but you know, on the other hand, I can game on it, which is even better. It's not a perfect laptop by any means. It's not a perfect experience by any means, but the MacBook isn't either. It is a great laptop, don't get me wrong. There are things that the MacBook can't do and can do, and then there are things that this can't do, but can do. For now, I don't feel the urge of going back to the MacBook Pro at all. I do wish it had better battery life, but I'll give my final thoughts in 3 months. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and I guess I'll see you guys next Sunday. Like always, we've got a pretty sick episode next Sunday, so stay tuned.